We'll be live.
Hello.
Hello. Guys, make sure you like the stream. I see people are already active in the live chat. We're going to look at your comments and make sure that we pay attention to them as part of the show because we want you guys to be involved. We have a couple of interesting news items and some tragic ones that Susie and the rest of the team has picked for us. Which countries are we covering today, Susie?
We are covering Iran. Oh, you're talking back to me. Okay.
No, I turned it
Iran,
off.
Germany, the UK, and Canada.
Okay, and today most of the news is tragic. Most of the stuff that we're covering is tragic, sad, happy, hilarious.
No, the vast majority of this is just like ridiculous, and we're gonna dunk on people. The second news story is more tragic, but this is something we talked about before, and we both agree that it's very important to talk about.
Yes. We have Angel again being an angel for this channel.
Living up to her name.
First of all, she's celebrating her 5-month membership. Do you want to read these?
Yes, it's in. Good morning, everyone. Hope we all enjoy the stream. And then again, a $100 super chat. Insane. Saying, I'm excited. Hopefully, this can keep me awake. I hope you guys are doing well. Don't forget before the stream ends and comment after it ends, everyone. Yes, please like the stream, subscribe. The Atheist Republic militia is growing like a wildfire, okay? And you better get on board. And also, I realized that technically this might not be a woman. This could be a man. This could be an angel.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So,
and
but angels are above gender. They're just mysterious, ethereal beings.
There was a very wholesome comment that came after Angel's comment. Can you read this one? That was very sweet. I just enjoyed that.
This is so cute. Lost Goth is saying, damn, Angel, thanks for supporting our favorite channel.
That's very sweet. Yes. Thank you. Let's go thanking Angel on behalf of the community. Thank you. Angel, seriously, like, I don't know what to say. Oh, it's mystery. She or he's not going to tell us. Like, we're just going to leave us in suspense.
Yeah. More evidence for my conspiracy theory that this is an angel.
Yes. Oh, people are saying hi, guys, and they're telling us where they're watching from. Guys, please make sure you confirm.
We're growing like a hellfire.
Yes. Guys, please let us know in the live chat that you have liked the stream so other people in the live chat could also see that you're liking the stream so that they get encouraged to like the stream. And also, keep telling us which countries you're watching from. That helps us have a better understanding of what, who's watching us from where. Anyways, because we have a lot to cover today, I think we should just get right into it. This, I've been waiting to see what Susie says about this first item. I've been waiting all week to hear. Oh, you can see. Oh my God, guys, this Susie's heated about this topic. Okay, so let's see. Can we clap? Can we clap for it?
Yes, we can. This is basically what I was going to rant about last week, and then some news stories came up, and I'm like, no, let's do it this week.
All right. First news.
Iran shamelessly exploits U.S.-Palestine protests to cover up crackdown. The Islamic Republic regime in Iran is cynically exploiting the recent surge of student-led pro-Palestinian protests and sit-ins across the United States and other Western countries in a blatant attempt to bolster its crumbling international reputation. Well, 150 members of Iran's parliament voiced support for the American student movement, and universities like Shiraz University offered to host expelled protesters. This rings entirely hollow given the regime's brutal crackdown on domestic dissent. Iran International noted that, quote, Khamenei may be the worst policed leader in the world to address this issue after he took to Twitter to proclaim, quote, in Western countries, people are coming out in huge numbers to chant slogans against Israel and America. US and Israel's reputation has been ruined. This hollow grandstanding ignores the regime's vicious suppression of free speech within Iran's borders. As pro Palestinian rallies raged in the West, the Iranian state media co opted protest slogans and imagery in a propagandistic attempt to falsely depict support for the movement. However, many Iranians called out this quote astounding hypocrisy of a regime that imprisons its own students and academics for expressing dissent while praising their American counterparts. So this is something that I knew I had to cover when I saw that Khamenei posted a video um, of of all the student protests. I think that would be a good thing to open with, Armin. It's embedded in this story.
Yeah, it has a music in the background for the video that he posted. Should I play it without the music, maybe?
Yeah. We can just
Okay, so
let's read the full
this
tweet,
is
and then
this is Khamenei,
yeah.
the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran. He posted this tweet on his account, on his official account, and again, so read the tweet, read the caption, and then we'll play the video.
See what is happening in the world, in Western countries, in England and France, and in states across the US itself. People are coming out in huge numbers to chant slogans against Israel and America. US and Israel's reputation has been ruined. They truly have no solution.
Wow. And okay, so just imagine, I'm going to mute this, but imagine in your mind like some really passionate, like, I don't know, like some epic emotional music. Okay, just imagine that in your head. So it's just,
Yeah, this and
just play the...
first of all, there's so many things I want to say about this. Oh, okay, first of all, they're offering admission to Shiraz University. Shiraz University is one of the top universities in the country, right?
Well, I mean, it used to be. I don't know if it is now. I don't know. I'm not sure. I know it was because of the previous regime invested so much, like the Pahlavi dynasty invested so much in the education system and the universities. And back then, they were some of the top universities in the world. So
yeah, Sharif
and ever
University
since
as
the
well.
Islamic, yeah, Shiraz University that's where my dad got his medical degree, Shiraz University, right? So yeah. So I don't know if they're still as good as they used to be, but here, this is the tweet. So they they're providing, they're granting scholarships to these poor American students. You could go. So what is this? Are they? I don't understand. So the head of an Iranian internationally renowned university has expressed readiness to grant scholarships to the students expelled for pro-Palestine demonstrations in the United States and Europe. So guys, you could go as, I don't know, refugees or something. You could go from United States to Iran and go become a university. Iran will protect. You know what? I support this. Take them. Please go to Iran. Yes.
Yo, my other Iranian friends were saying the same thing. They're like, please go.
Go. Yes, take these. Hey,
I'm not gonna
I
lie.
didn't know.
The Houthis were also offering admissions to their universities.
No
And low
way.
key, I was like, I wasn't even sure that there still were universities in Yemen at this point. Also considering the literacy rate, I was like, you guys have that? Like, okay, so this is something I wanted to talk about. For those of you who are not familiar with my background, like when I was in my early 20s, like I was a militant leftist, like Antifa, anarchist type of person. And so I'm honest enough within myself to know that if I was in this age range and this was happening, at the time that I was at school, like I would be one of these student protesters. I can say that openly just because I know myself well enough, and also my previous behavior and what I believed, that I would fall into this camp, right? And one of the things that started to wake me up was when I started studying like Islam out of curiosity. Um Somehow I ended up on a YouTube channel of this 12er Shia guy that supports the Islamic Republic. I think he's Pakistani, but he's like studying in the houses in Iran. And in his videos, he was talking about all this stuff, and he was talking about death to America, and all these things. And I was like, wait a second. Like, I was in my city chanting death to America because of our border policies. And here's this guy who believes in executing gay people, and he's also saying death to America.
Yeah.
Meh. Like, it was a huge wake up call for me. It was a huge wake up call for me. I was like, wait a second. Why do I have something like that in common with this person? And it caused a lot of self reflection for me. So, this is how I know horseshoe theory is real. But because of my experience, I think I might be able to help unpack a lot of what's happening with these campus protests. But the last thing that I wanted to say before we move specifically from the Islamic Republic angle was that Iranians are freaking pissed. I mean, at the regime, but I mean, when are they not? But I mean, Khamenei over this specific issue, because they will murder students dead in this street over doing a fraction of what these American students are doing. And they have a history of these crackdowns almost like once a decade since the regime's inception. We saw this in the 80s. We saw a horrific massacre in the 90s. Did you say Susanna learned a lot from the Shias? Okay, you know what? And we saw a lot of violence and an attack on the universities during the uprising and revolution in 2020, 2023. So people are like, you're talking out of your ass. Like, this is pure bullshit. If people were acting up, doing a fraction what these kids are doing, you would have no qualms sending them in to be murdered where they stand, or exported off to black sites where they will be systematically tortured and R-worded. So it's all just bullshit.
I mean, people on this channel know about Too Much, right? Too Much peacefully protested and wrote songs against the Islamic Republic of Iran, and now he has been sentenced to be executed. Again, we don't know yet if it's going to happen or not, but he has received a death sentence. And this is the same regime that is now saying, looking at these poor American students, none of them is getting even rules. Like, there's no scars, no nothing. The police, most of the time, is acting very professionally when it comes to removing the students from the place that they're not supposed to be legally. They're doing a very good job most of the time. And look at, like, if you actually look at the videos, you can see the level of professionalism that they have when it comes to making sure that they don't actually cause any injury to anybody that they're trying to remove from the area. And now the regime is acting like these poor students are being oppressed while they shoot at protesters themselves. They shoot at protesters, and they on purpose aim for their faces to, how many people in Iran got blind, lost their eyes because
hundreds of people got blinded, intentionally blinded, and they also intentionally shoot women in the breasts and genitals.
Yes, a lot of this is a regime that has a lot of soldiers in the streets against people, and these soldiers, they have a lot of, I don't know, incel issues when it comes to their own forces. No, they do that stuff, but they have a lot of, I don't know, pent up psychological sexual tension, and you can see that why a lot of younger girls get shot at more than men, and the ones that many people consider to be like prettier girls get shot at more. And also a lot of times they aimed at the breast and the genitals. That shows that when it comes to IRGC forces and also the Nire Intizami, there is just some major psychological issues when it comes to the people that the Islamic Republic uses against its own people, which is
Yeah, so like the Islamic Republic has no room to talk about violence against students when you can just go look up what happened in the 90s and you go look at the photos of the dormitories and you don't see, oh, a couple of encampments and tents got pulled down. You see blood on the floor that even an uneducated person can just look at and know within an instant that someone bled out and died there. Like it's just massacre. Yeah.
yeah.
But there is so much that we need to talk about with these student protests, Armin. Like,
Yes.
if there is, do I expect a level of self reflection at this point? No. No, I do not. Maybe later. Maybe later there will be some self reflection. But right now, we have students openly, and also just it's being mainstreamed into the progressive movement as a whole, apparently, like praising the Houthis, who recently sentenced gay men to be stoned and crucified. Um, they're waving Hezbollah flags. There's students wearing literal Hamas, full-blown Hamas headbands on Stanford campuses, people praising the Islamic Republic for doing a direct assault on Israel. Like, and then when Israel is going to defend itself and send a strong deterrence message saying hands off Iran, which is just the same exact bullshit that they were pulling when Qasem Soleimani was assassinated. I mean, you're like, he fought ISIS. I'm like, yeah, he uses Afghan child soldiers. Like, anyways,
Anytime somebody says Qasem Soleimani fought ISIS, remind them that so did Al Qaeda. So just remind them of that. Yeah.
I mean, okay, let me not get into that in a second. But like, so when a lot of these student movements are now openly praising terrorists, do I expect them to have the moment of self-reflection that I had where I went, wait a second, I think maybe my sentiments are being used for something greater than myself in a way that in service of goals that I don't appreciate. Maybe I need to reevaluate the ideas that I hold and the political movements that I support if this is a pattern that I am seeing. See, guys, this is removing your ego, doing a critical evaluation, I think it was Rousseau who has the thought experiment where he talks about pouring all of his thoughts out on the floor like a bucket of apples and picking up one and then picking up another to discover which is rotten. Because if there is one rotten apple, the whole basket can turn rotten. And just the critical evaluation, purposefully seeking out a disagreeing voice. And do I expect that at this point? No, I don't at all. I don't expect anything from these students because regardless of what people want to say, these students are doing what is popular. And should I just go into talking about my experience with these kinds of movements?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me give some context. When I was around 21, 22 was when Trump got elected, and I became very, very radicalized. And I became very radicalized partially because I was in the Bay Area and I was so outraged by what I saw and what I felt was wrong. And I couldn't tolerate it. And I didn't understand how all the other adults who felt like real adults, you don't feel like a real adult when you're 22, we're not doing something about it. But who did I see doing something about it? I saw Antifa radicals doing something about it. And I admired them because they were willing to put boots on the ground and knuckles behind what they believed in. A lot of people aren't willing to do that. And for a young person that doesn't really know what to do about something that you feel is completely wrong on a grand scale when you're in your country or in your community, that is very attractive because it seems like there's something that we can do. Um, so I became involved in this kind of community in the greater area of my city, and basically it's so and along those lines, this is around the time of the whole abolish ICE movement. For those who are not aware, ICE is an immigration and customs enforcement agency in the U.S. and they were deporting people. And so basically, we became involved in an occupation of an ICE building down in the Department of Homeland Security offices in downtown San Francisco. And we took over the street in front of the DHS building for a week straight, to the point that they couldn't go to work. They weren't sending their workers to go into the office at DHS. And it lasted about a week before the police came and arrested everyone. But it was a similar occupation. We took over this part of the street. We barricaded it, and there are people camping out there. And I never camped out because of them. Also, being completely honest, I wasn't nearly as hardcore as a lot of the other people. I was like, at the end of the day, I actually just want to go sleep in my bed. Wagon is saying, I remember this on TV. Yeah, I was there. So, and here's the thing. From the outside, you see these Antifa people, and we're all masked up, all in black bloc, which is like a tactic to avoid being identified. So if you're wondering about why these students are all wearing masks, it's because they're trying to not be identified, or why they're wrapping kefias around their face all the time. It's to not be identified, right? They don't want to be doxxed. Because we also had a lot of conspiracy theories about like far right extremists that were going to come and dox us, or the government. And but what I describe this as is like people from the outside see this as very intimidating. And in a sense, it really is, because the threat of violence was real. But when you're on the inside, I always talk about it and describe it as anarchist day camp. Like, were there instances of violence? 100%. 100%. But most of the time, people were just chilling out. Somehow we started to like get couches out there, and we had our own little kitchen, and we'd just be like sitting out there, like reading radical revolutionary literature, sitting on the couch, smoking weed, playing soccer in the street, like just trying to hold the space and killing time. And then people from other like radical nonprofits would come out and give like little workshops on de-escalation and how to evade police and like all this stuff, right? And then we like have a space to like give speeches to each other about our feelings and like how we felt about this movement and all this stuff. So I actually made like pretty good friends there. But this is what I describe it as. It was anarchist day camp. Like, most of the time we were just chilling around, like smoking weed, like reading books, like talking to each other about our ideas, painting signs that we would put out on the block that we occupied, like putting up banners. We would go find food and then go find homeless people to go like distribute the food to, like all this stuff. And however, there were instances of violence because there was this other group that was run by this like transgender woman in her 50s who was against communism and Marxism. And so we saw them as like far right radical extremists, and they were going to come one day to go like counter protest against us or something, or whatever. Anyways, these Antifa dudes went up and assaulted this trans woman who's running like this counter group. And here's the thing that I want to tell people, which is really important to understand. People like this will always put doctrine over the person. Doctrine over the person no matter what. Because these same types of people would go assault women if they don't feel comfortable with transgender women in the women's changing room. But they have no problem also going to punch a trans woman so hard her wig falls off because they think that she's a far right radical. So I need you to understand this. about these people is that every single identity category that they say that they care about will be thrown under the bus faster than you can snap your fingers if they believe that that person is in an obstacle to their ideology. It doesn't matter what group that they say that they're a part of, or what identity category that they say is protected and they basically treat as sacrosanct. They will go punch you so hard your wig falls off. Meanwhile, there are other trans people standing in the crowd just watching it being like, yeah, get her. So basically, over time, I always had all these questions and critical thoughts within my brain that I would suppress with what in the study of cult psychology or thought control is called thought terminating cliches, which basically means these preloaded kind of statements that tell yourself to shut down any critical thought from entering into your worldview. So, for example, one common thought terminating cliche would be if I heard like contradictory evidence or information, I would immediately discredit that information on the basis of the immutable characteristics of who it came from. So if there's criticism, it's very easy to go, it's very easy to go, oh, well, that came from a white, straight, cis man. I can discard all that information. I can throw out all of that information because of it came from a white, cis, straight man. Things like that. And so these environments are not environments that allow people to have differing opinions at all. You get on the same page, and there is no room for people to ask for less radicalism. There's no room for it. There's no room for critical thought about what is being supported, the consequences of what groups are being supported. Like when I was in these environments, a lot of people were straight up commies. Okay, but when I was in high school, I took classes on Chinese history and what happened during the Cultural Revolution. And the whole thing about anarchism is like one principle is supposed to be very ironically about against forms of coercion. It's supposed to be an opposition of coercion. But then all these people are like commies. And I'm like, wait a second. What I know about communism involves a metric boatload of coercion. So situations like that. So there are going to be students who are silently thinking to themselves, wait, why are you supporting Hezbollah? I know a little bit about them, maybe. And I know how they harm like the people that they're ruling right now or in charge of. Like, But God help you if you say that out loud. God help you if you say that out loud. Because if you say that out loud, do you know what's going to happen? You are going to be dragged over the coals for every single perceived form of privilege you do or do not have as a basis to discredit you. If you have any perception of being in a place of privilege, they will use that to crucify you for any form of thought that falls outside their line. I want to make this very, very clear. I've lived this myself. I've seen this myself. And one other thing that I want to say that I think will help give people like some perspective is like, I think a lot of these students are driven to do this because it makes them feel very purposeful. I saw one Iranian commentator that I follow saying that, especially on these elite university campuses, like you don't see this as much on campuses of like, not the most elite in the country. This is a way for these students to launder their privilege. Their privilege laundering by pretending that they are putting themselves in the role of the victim by conducting themselves in such a way that it requires intervention by law enforcement, in which they can then feign victimization and feign themselves being in the place of the oppressed, when really they are among the most elite, at the most elite institutions in the world. So they're laundering their own privilege as a way to try to cleanse themselves of the permanent guilt of being among the privileged, which, according to these ideas that they've been taught, and I was taught, is one of the worst original sins that you can have. They're trying to cleanse themselves of original sin. The other thing that I want to talk about is that these kids are not doing something that's brave. They're doing what's popular. They're doing what's popular. Because what's not popular to do right now is to be a Zionist, openly a Zionist. And God help you if you're brave enough to openly say that on one of these campuses. We've seen people get assaulted. Oh, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. But what I want to point to is, I want to speak from experience for a second. When I was like in these groups, in these spaces, I learned a very valuable lesson. And the valuable lesson I learned is what it feels like to be part of a group in a mass mobilization. And it plays into something that's part of your animal brain. Like, I felt a sense of electric thrill throughout my body that is very distinct. And there's this feeling of unpredictability. And your adrenaline is pumping and your nerves are like a live wire because you don't know what's going to happen next. And that's when I understood what the mob mentality is. That's what I understood what the mob mentality is, because I've been in a situation where all of a sudden violence breaks out and before you know it, a bunch of people are getting assaulted. Like a few feet away. And so from that experience, like it's a physical sensation. And it really takes over your like whole perception. And at the same time, you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself. And people need to understand how much that idea of being something bigger than yourself is so central as a psychological need that we have as part of our meaning-making function. So these kids have cast themselves in the role in a meta-narrative as the heroic oppressed that are standing up. And so everything that they do is justified, which is where Shia Islam plays in. But we're not going to get into that.
But also this video, wanting to be the victim, being the victim gives you, it's a very powerful way of feeling like you matter, that you are part of, on the right side. And exactly, both Christianity and Shia Islam do such an amazing job in trying to provide you that sense of victimhood. But the modern version of that is wokeism also provides you with that sense that you are the victim, even if you are living very comfortable, privileged lives.
And it's a righteous victimhood. That's what people need to get. And
which no, can we not skip this, because I think this is a good time to bring up this video.
This is so
I
good.
think
a star is born.
All right, so I should just play the whole thing from beginning to end, and then we can talk about it. Okay.
Why should the university be obligated?
Wait, can you turn it up? It's kind of quiet.
Provide some content. Yeah, what? I can't make it any louder. But
Okay.
yeah, I
So
can't
the
make it
context
louder. But
is that
context,
a
yes.
bunch of Columbia students actually broke in and vandalized a building, and they were trying to occupy the building, but they don't say occupy; they say liberated. You guys, they have their own special lingo, they have their own special language, and this is actually coincidentally a cult tactic called loading the language. If you guys want to understand this, look up loading the language as a thought reform technique. So this is a girl who came out to demand assistance from the Columbia
She's a PhD
facilities.
student. She's a PhD student. I want to also mention.
Yeah.
Remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just watch this entire thing.
Why should the university be obligated to provide food to people who've taken over a building?
Well, first of all, we're saying that they're obligated to provide food to students who pay for a meal plan here.
But you mentioned that there was a request that food and water be brought in, unless I misunderstood.
To allow it to be brought in. I mean, well, I guess it's ultimately a question of what kind of community and obligation Columbia feels it has to its students. Do you want students to die of dehydration and starvation or get severely ill, even if they disagree with you? If the answer is no, then you should allow basic, I mean, it's crazy to say because we're on an Ivy League campus, but this is like basic humanitarian aid we're asking for. Like, could people please have a glass of water?
But they did put themselves in that very deliberately in that situation and in that position. So it seems like you're sort of saying, we want to be revolutionaries, we want to take up this building. Now would you please bring us food and water? And
nobody's asking them to bring anything. We're asking them to not violently stop us from bringing in basic humanitarian aid.
They're stopping the delivery of food.
We are looking for a commitment from them that they will not stop it
but
violently.
They haven't stopped it yet.
I don't know to what extent it has been attempted, but we're looking for a commitment.
And the grub
Humanitarian aid, Susie. They're asking for humanitarian aid.
Yo, you cannot be more embarrassing. I swear to God. Okay, and here's the thing. There's so much I want to talk about with this, Armin. Okay. Yeah, this is LARPing. This is cosplaying. Where the university is taking over the role of Israel as an oppressor. Like, it is absolute bullshit. Okay, so, and credit where credit is due, because I saw so many Arab thought leaders that I follow and other like pro-Palestinian activists that I follow who were dragging these students over the coals for this. Like, they were like, humanitarian aid? Is this a fucking joke to you? Is this a game to you? I've had to live on humanitarian aid. This isn't voluntary. What you're doing is entirely voluntary. You dumb bitch. Like, it's this
actually die from dehydration.
Die from dehydration. It's been less than 24 hours, and it's like, oh my God, I just don't even know what I'm gonna do. And so here's the thing. And this is why these students, I'm sorry, my thoughts are all over the place. One thing I wanted to say is that we need to realize that this is largely a distraction. Yes, these encampments are popping up all over the country, but per campus, this involves a couple hundred students, right? It's also worth pointing out that a lot of these, especially based on my experience, are going to involve people from outside the student body who are essentially infiltrating these movements to escalate the situation. So I can promise you, with places like PSU, Portland State University, that there are Antifa radicals who are not part of the student body, who are going in, co-opting the movement, escalating in terms of behavior, in terms of violence, in terms of tactics that the student body maybe would not have organically pushed themselves to the most. And this happened in Columbia, where this one dude allegedly tried to hold a janitor hostage. And it turns out that this kid is a 4-year-old son of a millionaire living at like a $15 million Brooklyn, or what's the word that they use for it? Like the brownstone little penthouses or whatever, townhouses. Like it, and it's the imagery of it too. A like white 40-year-old son of a millionaire living a privileged life, leading a radical communist movement, holding a black man hostage for the sake of Gaza somehow. It's so predictable. That imagery is so predictable. This is just luxury beliefs. This is luxury beliefs. These are people that need to launder their own privilege in service of the ideology that they have married themselves to. Because they know that they're privileged. They know that they have it so good. So what is the only way that they can cleanse themselves of that privilege? By being the most radical. So, and it's just so predictable. So, but I think this is broadly a distraction because this involves like a couple hundred students per campus. Let me tell you something. These students tried to play this at universities in the South. The South of America? Yeah. Down in the South, they don't play with this. They do not play with this. It did not go over well when they tried to do this. When they tried to do this down in Southern universities. Okay? Because they don't tolerate this kind of misbehavior for the sake of misbehavior. It is mostly in progressive liberal Democrat run cities where they allow people to misbehave and actually incentivize people to misbehave because they don't hold them accountable for their behavior, which is law breaking. Because again, the South don't play with this. It's in these progressive cities where they're going to hem and haw and basically submit to them and try to negotiate with terrorists. No, I'm kidding. Because they're worried about their image and they're worried about their vote. The South, they don't care. They don't tolerate it. They're taking care of it. And I'm not trying to make this like a Democrat versus Republican thing. It's just a pattern that's so obvious before my face. Like I have to say it. It's so obvious. I have to say it. It's only in these progressive cities where they will tolerate this kind of misbehavior. And so I think this is a huge political distraction. And there are many Palestinian activists that I follow who are actively condemning these students. And I will tell you why. They're condemning these students because these students are actively distracting from what is happening to the actual Gazans actually dying under bombardment. What has everyone been talking about for the past 2 weeks? We've been talking about kids with terrorist memorabilia. We've been talking about kids with signs that tell Jews to go back to Poland. We've been talking about kids that are breaking into buildings, damaging property, vandalizing. We've been talking about kids that are assaulting people they think are Zionists, preventing Jews from walking around different parts of campus, putting wristbands on people to say that they're allowed to go in and out in certain spaces on campus that they pay for, depending on if they're anti-Zionist or not. Does anyone have any idea how like stomach churning that is for the Jewish community to see? Like, oh yeah, you're allowed to walk around certain areas. Your freedom of movement is restricted on depending on your beliefs and your feelings about a separate state in the country of Israel. And we're going to physically mark you so we know whether you're allowed to be in the space or not. Does anyone even understand how, like, as Jews, your stomach falls out of your body when you see that? It was so funny. I was talking because my boyfriend doesn't really pay attention to a lot of things, but sometimes I have to rant, and I was talking about it. And I was describing this to him. He's like, wait, that's like super fascist. And I'm like, crazy, right? Who would have thought? And okay, because I made it myself. I have so much to say about this. I literally made myself an outline. So I want people to understand that Palestinian activists, many of them, are condemning these students because they say you are squandering the once in a lifetime amount of sympathy that we have had towards our people and what we suffer. You were squandering a once in a generation opportunity. because the media attention is being drawn away from what is actually happening to the people suffering. Instead, it's being put on these narcissistic students. And how do I know this is true? Because I don't follow like the ground operations of what's happening very closely because I'm not an expert, right? A lot of that doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. Or like the details and specifics of it aren't going to be really meaningful to me. But over the past 6 months, I've generally had some idea, not in detail, but I've had some general idea about what's happening on the ground. Over the past 2 weeks, I have not, even though I followed this issue. It's completely faded out of the landscape. I'm like, you know what? Actually, I realized for the past 2 weeks, I don't actually know what's happening in Gaza right now. Because we're all talking about college students telling Jews to go back to Poland. Like, what the fuck? And here's the other thing. They're squandering this opportunity for the very people that are suffering the most. I almost cried about this last week because it made me so like upset thinking about how they're throwing away the sympathies for these civilians under the bus. Because here's what people need to understand. Americans are normal people. Like, we don't like to see suffering. We don't like to see people getting hurt. We don't like to see people getting bombed. We think that's bad. Don't do it. And we don't like to see kids getting killed. And so you see, and we can see this in polling data now, that there was massive support for the Palestinian people around December, and it's dropped off substantially. And it's because most Americans are just normal people who are trying to go about their day, trying to go to work, take care of their family. But when there are protesters screeching at them in moralistic fury, shutting down highways, shutting down the airports, shutting down, like their ability to go to work or get to a hospital. With really, like, how does that help anyone in Gaza? For the love of God, could someone tell me? Most Americans are just trying to take care of their families and drowning in debt. They're like, bitch, I need to get to work. I got interest payments. like they're not going to tolerate that. They're going to be like, you know what? I want to support whatever is not this absolute nonsense that makes my life worse. Full of people that don't seem friendly. Full of people that actually seem kind of awful because of their language and what they say and how they treat people. So this is why I would say I would not wish these allies upon my enemy. The Palestinian people do not deserve these allies. This is horrible. Because I sent a rant on Telegram, an audio recording to Armin, where I said, there are few things that are guaranteed in this life. Death, taxes, and that leftists will destroy their own movement. We saw this live with Black Lives Matter. We're seeing it play out right now. So I predicted this from the beginning. And it's coming at the cost of the people that they say that they're doing all this for. It's freaking pathetic.
I'm going to play this other video. Do you want to read the caption? Because I think the caption is very telling.
Oh, yeah. So this is from our friend, Luai Ahmed, saying in 2020, they kneeled in front of Black people to prove that they're not racist. In 2024, they're kneeling to Allah to show that they're against genocide. Gen Z is like a South Park episode unfolding right in front of our eyes.
Right. Let me actually play it. This is which university? Do you know?
I believe this one is at UCLA, but you've seen this kind of behavior at several universities.
Right.
Hello, everybody. Me again. I'm here because I believe in freedom. You guys not sorry. I come from a place that
Not what?
never been a place.
Sure.
US doesn't feel like my home. I can't go because under apartheid or I'm sure you guys relate that's under
I don't know how submitting to an ideology which has ruined Gaza is pro Gaza.
Because these students really think here, I'll walk you through the mentality. They really think that they're doing something. They really think that they're doing something. And they think that by doing this, they are standing in solidarity with these people. I don't think, like, a lot of people are posting on Twitter that they're like all converting to Islam. Maybe there's one or two. I would be very surprised if those people doing namaz are actually converting, but they think that they are helping to show that they are in solidarity with Palestinians, apparently not realizing that there's actually religious and ethnic diversity among them. So that's a point. But it's cosplay, guys. It's all cosplay. We need to understand this. And it's cringe, but it is what it is. And people need to understand that one thing that there's two other last points that I wanted to make, is that people are talking about this as a free speech issue. And I think they're missing the forest for the trees a little bit. So there's 2 points. There's 2 major contentions I have with this, because obviously here in the Atheist Republic, we take free expression like very seriously. And here's the thing. Campus encampments are not protected speech. Like, violating campus conduct is not protected speech. As a reference, I wanted to go check out what the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression had to say FIRE, because I'm a huge fan of FIRE, and they take a very principled stand on free speech, and they put out kind of their analysis of events like these. And they said, well, free expression and open inquiry, key elements for the transmission and advancement of knowledge, are values of paramount importance to a university. Institutions must be able to regulate on-campus expressive activity to ensure that it does not interfere with their primary educational and scholarly missions. It is not part of protected speech to disrupt the intention of the university, which is a learning environment. Second thing, it is against, let's just take Columbia as an example, because there's lots of different universities doing this, right? It's against Columbia's rules of university conduct, disruptive behavior standards, university policy regarding tenting, disciplinary rules against vandalism and damage to property, unauthorized access or egregious rules, such as Columbia's policy against harassment, and it's also not allowed according to a notice of encampment circulated by the university. So there's a difference between what is being said and then what is being done. And people are acting like the university is being forced to call in law enforcement to take care of this is inherently a free speech issue. There have been a few instances here or there, like what happened in Texas with what the government, what the governor ruled with anti-Semitism, like that I was not on board with. But in general, this is happening because of behavior and what is being done. The second point that I want to make is that this is another instance of how we can see how the double standard of free speech on college campuses, right? And this is what I think a lot of like liberals are getting pissed about, that people who are not liberals are not understanding correctly. They're like, oh, you say you're liberal and you say you're all for free speech, then why are you so like gung-ho about the enforcement against these students? It's because of the double standard. And it is very easy to see who is the protected class and who is not the protected class. There was an incident that happened on a student campus where, this is horrific, by the way, someone put bananas on nooses in trees as apparently some sort of like anti-Black racist thing. You know what happened? The FBI got involved as part of law enforcement. Like, law enforcement got called in on another campus for having posts for like Hail Dixie. But when it comes to people like openly calling for violence against Jews, holding signs pointing to Jewish students saying that the Al-Qassam Brigade is going to come to them next, we're going to expect like no law enforcement? What are you talking about? You're openly inciting terrorist violence against some random fellow students. Like, so it's the hypocrisy that's driving me crazy. Like, the universities over the past 2 decades, but especially over the past 5 to 10 years, have been so hyper-vigilant about policing the expression not only of their students, but of their faculty. There was an instance where a professor at USC faced disciplinary action because he studies Chinese linguistics, and he said a Chinese word that is an actual word in Chinese that sounds like the N-word in English. And because he said that out loud and it offended some students, he got disciplinary action against him in his role as a professor of Chinese linguistics. Are you stupid? Are you dumb? But suddenly, when it comes to this, and we're talking about this level of radicalized rhetoric, now the university cares about free speech. So it's so easy to see who is the protected class and who is not. And it just so happens that who is not in the protected class are the Jewish people. And just like no one's supposed to notice that? Absolute dog shit. Okay. Finally, my last point is that I know the American spirit well, my friend. And the American spirit is... it smells like lawsuits in the morning, honey. Oh my God. This lawsuits are going to rain down upon these institutions like manna from the heavens. It is going... There is one thing that Americans love to do, sweetie, and it is a good old-fashioned lawsuit. And there is so much evidence. And let me tell you something. I am excited for something called the discovery process. If this goes to court, the discovery process is going to be nasty. It's going to get nasty, y'all. So these institutions are going to have to settle for millions. They're going to have to settle for millions.
Being sued for what?
For basic, well, what in a legal term, what kind of jargon they would use, I don't know. But broadly speaking, discrimination against Jewish students. Like at UCLA, how are you going to allow people to be allowed access to certain parts of their campus or not, depending on if they subscribe to a political ideology or not, and allow students without permission from university administrators to continue to do this for long periods at a time? Give me a freaking break. You're not allowed to do that. But the universities are allowing it. So I don't know what kind of terminology you would use, but it's essentially dereliction of duty and gross negligence.
I will use the terminology of a violation of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. That's the terminology I would use.
Isn't Title VI more about gender-based stuff, though?
It's about all here. So Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is a federal law that prohibits discrimination based on race, color, or national origin in programs or activities that receive federal funding. And this Title VI applies to any entity that receives federal assistance, including grants, loans, and advances in federal funds, donations. So basically, given that many Jewish students have mentioned that they are being targeted and the university is not doing anything about it, and they're being told to just do this from home. I mean, these students have paid to be at that university. And they don't.
And their
feel
rabbis
safe
are
there,
telling them to not come to campus because they're not safe. For shame. Like, is there any self-reflection? Is there any urgency? Apparently not. It's disgusting.
Right. So So this is what people don't understand about free speech. And the way I would like to think about it is to, when it comes to free speech, and also when the government or any of these institutions has the right to come limit the way you're expressing it, because you have the right to have an opinion and express that opinion, but that freedom does not apply to every way or method of applying it, right? So I could tell you that, hey, I'm a Muslim, I believe in Islam. If I take a megaphone and yell it into your ear, you cannot, I can be stopped, because it's the methodology. Not all forms of expression, the expression itself is protected. Not all forms of protection are not protected, right? So when it comes to using different platforms, the easiest one to think about is a public park. Let's look at a public park, and then maybe after that go to a private garden, and then after that go to a university, to look at this in 4 levels, right? So in a public park, that's the easiest place to defend your free speech. Even there's a limitations. Like if you're in a park and you want to go and tell people that you believe this and that, as long as you're not harassing people, your speech is protected. If you take a megaphone and harass people with it, then that speech that is not protected. If you want to do a protest, the whatever government body that is responsible for that park, whatever, should provide you with an easy way to get a permit for a protest. But again, that doesn't mean that you could do a protest at any time in any way. If you're blocking people, because you have a right to protest, but other people also have a right. It's a public park. It has been paid for by public funds. So the public has a right to have access to that park, have a right to go through that park. So you have to go through, the government is responsible to make it easy for you to get a permit to protest in that park. But if that process is easy enough, then you are responsible to go through that process. If you don't go through that process, your protest is illegal, and that does not violate your free speech, given that the government has provided you with a way to, hold on, let me make these points before you bring this up. Provided an easy way for you to be able to do your protest. If it's a private garden or a private university, then you have no rights. That whoever owns that university or that garden, unlike a park, has all the rights to be able to limit your expression, not just the methodology of your expression, but the expression itself. Like if I'm a private university, I could decide that I don't want anybody expressing any Islamic beliefs on my property. This is my private property, my private garden. You do not have the right to express. It's not just the methodology, it's also the speech itself. It's not a violation of your free speech if I decide that you don't get to say this here on my private property. When it comes now, if you move away from gardens and parks, if you go to universities, it's not, now we are talking about your right to freedom of expression at a public university. Not the private is easy. The private is easy to dismiss. But it's also, you have to also understand that the students have the right to be there and study without any one blocking them or anyone intimidating them. You have a right to freedom of speech, but the university is also obligated to make sure the other students have complete free access to that university. And this is not even bringing up Article 6 of the Civil Rights Act. This is just a university's duty to make sure the other students are capable of studying there without any intimidation. But the level 4 of this issue, if there's any signs that it's not just intimidation, it's intimidation based on ethnicity, gender, or belonging to a nation state or nationalism, anything like that, then the university this becomes a very a case for suing the university. That if you're talking about suing university, people could now, on one side, people are saying you're going to sue the university for not letting them protest, which is nonsense. But from the other side, these universities could get into a lot of serious trouble if a lot of Jewish students decide to sue the university because of the violation of Article 6 of the Civil Rights Act. again, a lot of people don't understand why these universities are so sensitive to make sure that as soon as there is any sign of racism or targeting of any group of people based on their associations with a certain sort of with a nation, it's just people say like, we're not anti-Jew, we're just anti-Israel. Yeah, Title VI of the Civil Rights Act includes that as well. It's not just ethnicity, okay? It's also based on race, color, national origin. So even I mean, I don't believe you. A lot of you are anti-Jewish, but even if you were just anti-Israel, that would be intimidating to your Israeli students. And the university is legally obligated to clean up this mess. They're legally obligated. If they don't clean up this mess, they could be sued. This is the Civil Rights Act is not a joke. Like, this is something that universities have to abide by. But anyways,
yeah, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. And okay, here's the thing: people need to understand that, like, one part of this is very shocking because you're like, what are we dealing with these kids? Jesus Christ! I want to remind people to put things in perspective. In terms of recent polls that came out from Harvard Caps Harris, the U.S. is supporting Israel at larger scale than they did in December. They're also supporting an invasion of Rafah, whichever way you feel about it. That's just what the polls are saying. And also, like I said, leftists will always kill their own movement. So part of me is like not even that concerned about it. But what I am concerned about is how much damage will be done on the way down. Like, look at the Islamic Republic. They're destroying their own movement. But look at the damage and cost that happened on the way down, right? And finally, like, these are not serious people. Obviously, they're not serious. If you're talking about how they need, humanitarian aid after being in a building for like 24 hours. These are not serious people. I literally have a thread that I keep saved of all these instances of leftists just being completely self-defeating. So one of them was like, if you're a communist or if you're a leftist, why don't you have a gun? And the thread was just filled with people saying, I don't have a gun because if I had it, I would use it on myself. Or another one.
God. Okay, be careful
another
with that
one.
language here on YouTube.
No, I'm just reporting what was being said. Another one was,
hey guys, make sure you call if you need help. Call the headlines.
Of course.
Go on.
Another one was someone being like, a fascist worked out today. Have you worked out today? And that person being dragged over the coals by their own movement for being a body fascist, for saying that people should work out to stay fit so that they could actually be useful in the case of a socialist revolution.
Wow.
Like, these are not serious people. These are not serious people. They are literally too mentally ill to operate in society. And I think that's a function of why they're so resentful for everyone else that is able to get something for themselves. So, yeah, online leftists are hilariously incompetent. They're basically social dropouts. And I can say this also from experience of who I met in these spaces. They're chronically low functioning. So again, am I worried about this in the US on a large scale over time? Currently, no. I think they are so poorly operating. I don't think they would actually be able to do anything meaningful. Am I worried about the damage on the way down? Yes. So in the US overall, I think we'll be fine. What I am worried about is these Islamists in Europe, which we will be talking about. Because here's the thing. In the US, we don't play with that. In America, I'm going to be honest, we kind of have a stereotype of Western Europeans low-key being kind of pussies. So I don't know if you're prepared to not play with that. Be it as it may, let's go through our many super chats that we got.
We got around 20 super chats. 20 super chats. That's crazy. But yeah, let's go. And some
you
comments.
guys got an hour-long Susie rant today. Oh my God, amazing. We're starting off on a great one. The Garkad Defense Systems. Amazing
this season. I
name.
love this
Iconic
season.
name. Can we make that like a crest? That'd be that like a logo of that would go so hard. Well, thank you for becoming a member. Welcome to Satan's Minions.
We could
Shuvo.
make wait. Maybe we could make the how we were looking for a design for people who membership. We could make the Qarqad tree the
Oh,
symbol for like a tiny tree that is growing and growing and growing, like different sizes of the tree. I think that would be
maybe.
beautiful. Yeah.
Shuva was saying, yes, Daddy Khomeini, give us that scholarship so I can leave NYC and move to Shiraz. Okay, to be honest, I would love to live in Shiraz, though, unironically. I mean, under a
I'm half
different government.
Shirazi, by the way.
Exactly, it's beautiful. Gaysian American celebrating his membership for 28 months. Thank you, my friend. I missed you. Saying Tiananmen and 89 and Cultural Revolution were both student-led. Yes, we have some examples of wonderful student-led movements, like the movements to end racial segregation in America, or to help push to end apartheid in South Africa.
Which got us, we got student-led movements that got us the Civil Rights Act that actually these people are violating.
And then sometimes we have student-led movements, also low-key the Islamic Revolution in Iran, that lead to cultural purges and domestic terrorism. So, it's a mixed bag.
I mean, the communist revolution in China was also student-led to some extent, but they were like,
exactly,
killing the teachers and stuff like that.
Yeah, like school children literally going freaking psycho.
Under profs,
Yeah. Angry Keyboard Warrior, thank you for the $5. Said, I saw people saying that the pro-Palestine movement is just a rebranding of Black Lives Matter. What is your take on that? It's not rebranding. It's like how this broader ideology has just transformed into what is relevant for today, because Black Lives Matter isn't as relevant as it was 4 years ago. It's also way less popular than it was 5 years ago, including among the Black community, because many in the Black community identify that the leaders of Black Lives Matter are corrupt. Reincarnation Entertainment, thank you for another super chat, saying Hamas and the Islamic Republic would have any gay student given the death penalty for being gay. Yeah, do I think people are actually go ahead.
So the Islamic Republic of Iran, what happens is that they don't actually execute you for being gay. They do execute you for having sexual intercourse. Like if you say that you're gay, I mean, you can't advertise being gay. But if you are gay, technically, if you act on it, then that will get you the death penalty, not just being gay.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not defending them because that's evil, to killing somebody for acting upon their gay urges. So,
yeah.
Just wanted to be accurate.
These students better start learning Farsi. Angie Unier, thank you for the $5, saying, I don't think protesters should talk about their personal political opinions. Professors should talk about their personal political opinions. It's so unethical in my eyes. Basic understanding of power dynamic. I think it's more complicated than that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think university is a place where you go to just get exposed to a whole different sets of idea. I think professors should be able to talk about their personal political opinions. I think actually the problem right now in universities is that only people with certain views get to mention their political opinions. The people on the other side are the ones that don't get to. Like people are giving their opinions, but it's cult-like. It's you agree with this opinion or you don't fit in and you get kicked out of that system. That's the actual problem there.
Yeah. I think as long as they're willing to be challenged on it and not deduct.
Being challenged. The problem is that you don't hear the other side. Yeah, exactly.
Sweet message. Pakistan Defense Force said, "Hello, everyone. I wanted to apologize for my past behaviors. I've been getting some mental health treatment over the past few months, and I'm a lot better now and on ADHD medications." Saying, "Thanks, Dee. I'm sorry for being an idiot in the past. I wasn't mentally well, and I've been getting help recently through online therapists because I can't speak to any in Pakistan." We love to see the growth, Pakistani Defense Force. We love to see the growth. We appreciate it. So congratulations and good job. Keep taking care of yourself. For those who are not aware, Pakistani Defense Force is a historical hater in our community, or was.
No, he goes from being a lover to a hater, and then keeps coming back and forth. It's an ebb and flow. So
yeah, I'm holding my breath for when it flips again.
I'm proud of you for taking care of yourself.
Regardless of if you continue to like us or not, proud of your personal growth.
Proud of you for taking care of yourself.
Erican, thank you for the super chat, saying it depends on which form of communism. I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to here. So I don't really like the thing as a whole.
Usually when you say depends, it's usually correct. Not always, but usually I would agree with somebody who starts a sentence with depends. HD
Drake gave us a $20 super chat saying, "Thank you for your testimony, Susanna. Let me testify." I too was part of the communist left, though, during the 90s, and I completely verify your experiences. I have experienced similar things. Thank you. It's very predictable. As Hope gave us $20. Wow, thank you. Saying, "From a therapist perspective, victimhood can also give you a perpetual excuse of not getting better." It's true, because this is also another part of cult psychology. This is an aspect of thought reform, is removing your locus of control from internal to external. Because if you have an internal locus of control, you feel empowered over your own environment to a certain extent. Edith gave us 15 shekels saying, I'm an Israeli living in Israel. Thank you guys for speaking the truth and calling out the hypocrisies. Blessings to you and your family." Thank you, Edith.
Thank you.
Hope gave us another super chat. Thank you. Saying, "University of Chicago, I live here," and on their Instagram, they are asking for Plan B, HIV tests, birth control, etc., as their humanitarian aid needed as essentials for their encampments. Actually, kind of, this reminds me of something. Is that low-key, these encampments are a perfect environment for sexual assaults to happen. So it is a concern, it's a security concern. Lale Kashani, hey, I like your little lion and sword emojis. Hell yeah.
Yes.
Just gave us $5 and said,
It's missing
hi.
its son.
Yeah.
Hi.
Little Shiro Rashid. Garkad Defense Systems gave 5 Atheist Republic memberships, and Kenny gifted 20 Atheist Republic memberships. Holy crap.
25.
I think that just unlocked a bunch of new emojis for us. Hell yeah.
Nice. Yeah,
we need to go make some. Sneakster. love the picture of Sneakster saying, "These students," thank you for the $20 as well. "These students align themselves with Islamists, talked about oppressors versus oppressed and colonizers versus colonized. The Western experiment has allowed them to do this stuff. Will end real quick if Islam gains the upper hand." It depends on the environment. Personally, I don't think, like, Americans are we're so freaking like psycho about our country. We're like, we'd rather die on our feet than submit on our knees. Like, yeah. You're going to have to come take it from me. If you have something to say, you know where to find me. Like, we don't care.
I know it doesn't seem like it these days. I genuinely think the West is much stronger than a lot of people give it credit.
Yeah.
I think, the West survived in Marxism. It will survive this.
And also, I think we seem so, like, vulnerable or fragile because here's the thing, Armin, we actually live in societies that allow our dissenters to be open and flourish.
Right.
Versus others just crack down and don't even, like, allow that in the first place. So because we're actually allowing these people to just say it with their chest openly. We're like, oh my God. I mean, to a certain extent, we should say, oh my God. But I mean, we actually like give them the privilege of being able to do that. And it's like, no. We're shutting you down right now.
Yeah, people don't understand how much liberalism and what people refer to as Western values, how much how useful and how much money it makes and how much is good for the economy. And at the end of the day, that will save it. That will save it. So again, we'll see.
Yeah. Kenny gave a super chat to thank Angel for a $100 super chat. Well, that's very nice. A super chat for super chat.
Thank you.
Thank you. Edith gave another 15 shekels, saying 75% of Gazans support Hamas and cooperate with them against IDF soldiers, and this is known. Some people are genuinely coerced and extorted into cooperating with Hamas, and they pay the price for
but
it.
it's no, but support for Hamas before October 7th in Gaza was low. Okay, but unfortunately, it increased in response to the October 7th. Now it's like an all-time high. So I was trying to, on the Atheist Republic channel, I was trying to use the fact that Gazans have a low support for Hamas as a way to promote some support for people in Gaza, right? But that narrative doesn't work anymore. I might have to try other ways to try to humanize the people in Gaza. But the fact is, like, that's true. We can't deny the fact that the support for Hamas in Gaza has now skyrocketed. I mean, there are exceptions. There are many people in Gaza who hate Hamas, but 25% of 2 million people, that's still a lot of people. I mean, you could point to them that there are there, but again, they are a minority. They're a big minority, but they're a minority.
Angry Keyboard Warrior gave a $5 super chat saying they cry about their free speech, but simultaneously want to silence and exclude Zionists, which is probably anyone who just doesn't praise Hamas. Yeah, the definition of Zionism is just going to like continuously expand into this amorphous, like meaningless thing, just like how they use the word fascist. Winnie the Pooh said, so you cannot be anti-Israel, but can you be anti-Iran? Double standards.
Right. First of all, you can be anti-Iran or anti-Israel as long as you want. Okay. We don't agree with you, but nobody can stop you for being anti any country. Right. And also, we would disagree with you for being anti-Israel, and we would be disagreeing with you if you're anti-Iran as well. We're not. What makes people think that we're anti-Iran? We are anti the Islamic Republic of Iran because we are pro-Iran. We are. I mean, we have been saying this. You must be new here or not very smart, but we are pro every country. The reason why we're pro Israel is because we're pro every country. We just mentioned it about Israel more than other countries because Israel is threatened more than other countries. Yeah, but yeah, we're pro Iran.
Tarun gave us a $5 super chat, and he's referring to something that happened last week, saying, let me clarify what I meant to say last time. Okay, I do not actually see myself as a fascist. I meant ultra conservative, but that isn't the point here. Well, thank you for the clarification, Tarun. We got another one from Tarun saying, I never said let's be friends, okay? Sorry for all the attacks you faced. I condemn them, but this is about Israel, okay? We disagree on Hindufa, but on Israel, let us not argue on this. For me, this is not a matter of Israel per se. This is a matter of liberal principles. I don't think that you seem to be aligned with me on those principles. So that is my main hesitation. I align with people of many different faith backgrounds, but we find space together on principles. And that's why I feel comfortable aligning with them, because we share the same values. I'm not convinced that because we both have an affinity or feel a need to defend Israel's right to exist, that we are aligned on values overarching. So
Wouldn't you be comfortable? wouldn't you be comfortable uniting with somebody over a specific topic, even though you don't share some values on some other topics? You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't you, if somebody seems to have the same values in this specific area, wouldn't you be able to work with them in that specific area, even though they don't share the same values in other areas?
It's on a case-by-case basis.
I think I'm comfortable with doing that. I'm comfortable if somebody has contradictory values with me, but here we align. I'm comfortable working with them on that specific thing. Maybe actually it's a case by case. It depends on what.
Case-by-case
You're right.
basis.
It's a case by case basis. Yeah, I have to actually check.
Because some of the values on the other side of things could be so bad that I can't.
So bad.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. Okay, that's a good point.
Reincarnation Entertainment gave €5 to celebrate that we got 21 super chats saying Armin and Susanna are the
Yes.
best atheists in my opinion. Well, thank you. Oh my god. Baphomet Buster gave us €6 saying, indeed, you're right, Susie. Islamists in Europe are super dangerous. They are aligning with Muslim Brotherhood and targeting all segments of society. And also Hizb
It's not
Tahrir.
just the Muslim Brotherhood.
Yeah.
It's not just the Muslim, but it's a whole bunch of things, right? There's like Muslim Brotherhood is one of the organization. They're like, and then you have to also worry about the Shia side of coming from the Islamic Republic of Iran. There are many different groups that are trying to spread their Islamic ideologies in North America and Western Europe. And I'm glad that you're paying attention to Muslim Brotherhood, but please also know that the Islamic Republic of Iran is investing heavily in spreading its version of Islam in the Western world.
Oh yeah, they're putting in work. Secular Sakai, our lovely Sakai, just gave us a super sticker. Thank you, Sakai. I miss you. Angionier gave us a $2 super chat saying maybe the professors can challenge both sides equally. I mean, I see your point. It depends on the context. Like, professors have different teaching styles. I do agree that we need to take back our institution of academia. This is a huge problem of where this is all originating from. We need to take back the universities, like, in a serious way, to the point that I'm literally like, should we just defund the humanities? I'm straight up like, just defund the humanities. Like, who gives a fuck? Yeah, because there's a serious, it is a sickness. It is a sickness. HD Drake also gave another super chat saying, here's a super chat to thank the last 2 super chats.
So meta.
And Unicorn gave another. Oh my god, the more super chats are coming in. I can't keep up. Unicorn gave a super chat saying, what do you what are your thoughts on the Mao Zedong quote found on a chalkboard in Hamilton Hall after the police cleared it out? Long story short, like, again, these people have a revolutionary fetish, and so they're going to admire people that typify that to them. I dated a communist, and when I went to her house, her roommate had literal vintage Mao Zedong like pillows all over her bed. And again, me still being Antifa at the time, but having studied what happened in China, I was like, how can you like be a fan of Mao Zedong when, like, we say we're against coercion, and then you have this, you're sleeping with vintage pillows of this man? What the fuck? Again, these little cracks inside my dogma, they started to just pile up more and more until the dam broke and free thought came roaring through the glorious purifying waters of free thought, my friends. So what are my thoughts on it? It's, again, more cosplay and more LARP, to be honest. Some people, I mean, but just because I'm saying it's cosplay and LARP doesn't mean that it shouldn't be taken seriously to a certain extent. Because again, like with the whole, in 2020, like the whole abolish the police thing, some people are like, oh no, we don't really mean abolish the police. I'm like, no. I was running with people willing to put fists behind, they believe, abolish the police. Like, these people mean what they say. A lot of times people, like, I don't know what it is about, like, this kind of like very bleeding heart response that we get a lot in the Western world, like from liberals, quote unquote liberals, where it's like they're listening to like Hamas being like, yeah, we want to genocide all the Jews. And like, oh, they don't like really mean that. You know, it's not like they really mean that. Like, oh no, we don't really mean like defund the police. Like, I don't know why, what like when people tell you who they are, believe them. And somehow there's just like a whole swath of people that just have this attitude of like not wanting to believe them. I don't get it. Another super chat from Tarun saying India is the most Islamic harmed nation in the world. Mughals, Kashmir, partition, British looted us and now act like heroes for us and gave us AIT in return. Very harmful theory. So I'm pro Hind. That's fair. You know, I have no problem with you have I'm a big fan of like a very positive civic nationalism as long as it's on the basis of like values and not ethnic or religious identity. So
I would actually say that Islamic countries are the most Islamically harmed nations in the whole world.
Yeah. Oh, actually, that's a good point. Yeah, I see. Do you want to explain that for people that aren't going to understand you?
Well, I mean, if you're still living under Sharia law, you're constantly being harmed by it every, day of your week.
Yeah.
Like the more Islam, the more harm. If your country is Islamic, the people of your country are being harmed by Islamic ideology more. So the more Islam you have, the more of a victim of Islam you are. So I think where do you find the most of Islam? In Islamic countries.
Asian American gave us a super chat with Chinese characters in it. A super chat with Chinese characteristics. It says the Chinese phrase blank sped up. It's our Okay, my friend, why would you send this when you know I don't know how to pronounce this? He's doing this on purpose at ours. And then Shami gave us super chat saying, I'd like to thank the last 3 super chats. Vikram gave us a super chat saying, have you guys heard about Vosh's folder exposed? Yes, we have. We can't talk about that now because that's very off topic. I'm entirely unsurprised. This guy looks like a degenerate.
Hey, don't say that. Don't say that.
Why not? The older I get, the more I believe that degeneracy is a real thing. I swear to God.
Hey, Will, that's okay. Degeneracy is not a term I like to use. First of all, you can't judge people by their looks, and also degeneracy is a term that far right people use against all forms of sexual expression. So I don't like that. That's why I don't like that.
But some forms of sexual expressions are degenerate.
Hey, as long as you're not harming people. Hey, why are you judging people for their sexuality? I mean,
because I believe that some of them are harmful.
I know, but some of them are harmful, like the one that we just mentioned, for example, like the one that Vikram just mentioned. But it's used in a way, by a lot of far right people to categorize ones that are not harmful. That's why. Just say that these are harmful. Don't use their vocabulary. I don't like to use their vocabulary. Degenerate is not. Degenerate to me sounds like haram. Right? Just say harmful. Just say like illegal. Just say like harmful. They're harmful, not degenerate. Degenerate is the same as haram.
I was not expecting Armin to be woke splaining me on this. Oh my God. Tarun give another super chat saying, so India never faced anything from never faced from Brits and Muslims anything. No one said that. No one said that.
No, we didn't say that.
No one said that. We're not saying that.
Yeah.
But thank you for the super chat.
It was it was one of the greatest tragedies in history. What the Islamic invasion of India did, like obviously. I mean, we have mountains named after the number of Hindus that were killed in those invasions. Right.
Yep. So let's go to the next story. This is a very serious one.
Oh yeah,
People are saying that I'm a fascist for
Negative.
saying that. If you don't know what we're talking about Wash got exposed for, you would probably say the same thing.
Yeah, I agree that we should call it out. I'm just asking for a different type of language to calling it out. I agree with Susie that that's disgusting and harmful. I'm just thinking like maybe we should not call it that. That's all. Let's call it something else. Like, would you be comfortable in calling it haram? No, right? Okay. You're thinking about it. Anyways, we should move on.
I mean, I think what he got exposed for, like, should be forbidden. So it's just saying that in a different language.
No, I don't like to use.
It took a turn. We took a turn.
Right. All right. We should go to the next news.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay. So I guess we shouldn't clap because this is really horrible.
No. Yeah. Next news.
Okay. So yeah, we're going to take a little bit of a turn right now, but let's get into it. Okay, leak. Iranian forces sexually violated 16-year-old protester before killing. A shocking leaked document has exposed the sadistic brutality inflicted upon 16-year-old Nika Shakarami by Iranian forces during the nationwide women life freedom protests that erupted in September 2022 after the death of Mahsa Amini in morality police custody. The classified 322-page file contained testimonies from members of Team 12 who arrested Shakarami at an anti-government protest over Amini's killing and Iran's repressive hijab laws. The disturbing details reveal Shakarami was sexually assaulted by the operatives after being detained, with one named Sadegh Monjazi admitting that he felt aroused while sitting on the teenager and putting his hand inside her trousers. The situation then devolved into a brutal murder, with one haunting excerpt stating, quote, "He doesn't know who was doing it, but he could hear the baton hitting the accused, Nika. I started to kick and punch, but didn't really know if I was hitting our guys or the accused." After bludgeoning the 16-year-old protester to death with batons, Team 12 was ordered by a senior IRGC official to dump Shakarami's lifeless body on the street in a brazen cover-up attempt. This directly contradicted the regime's initial lies that she had committed suicide by jumping off a building. The leaked evidence lays bare the regime's disregard for human life in its efforts to violently suppress dissent against its repressive laws and actions.
So, Nika was one of the most well-known girls who died during the Mahsa Revolution, and BBC, their investigative arm, had done a very detailed investigation and tried to figure out exactly what happened, because Nika was killed by the officials, and the regime had claimed that no, she just jumped off. She was sad and she had jumped off the rooftop and just took her own life. And there were many videos that she was at the protest. And at some point she was running away from the officials, and then she disappeared, and then her body was found, and nobody believed the regime. But now BBC has managed to get the leaked documents get their hands on the Islamic Republic's own report on what happened. And what it has shown, what we can see in this report, is not just that they killed her and how they killed her, but then the efforts afterwards to cover this up at the highest level of the regime, right? So there's three different levels, from the bottom, like the low-ranking people who are on the streets, all the way to the very top. But also to make sure that these three people that killed Nika don't get punished for what they did. So they sexually assaulted her and they killed her, and there was a cover-up by the regime for it, and an attempt to make sure, and it's in the report that they actually made the point that these people are from a group called Hezbollah, and this is not the same Hezbollah as the Hezbollah in Lebanon, which is a group that is closely tied to Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader himself, and they made sure that's why they said, because they're part of that Hezbollah group, to make sure that they do not get any form of punishment for what they have done. Right? So the things that happened at that night, I just want to mention a few key points of what happened, and then show you exactly what has been reported in the BBC, in the leaked documents from the government itself. Again, this is not; this has been confirmed by the regime insiders that this is a report filed by the regime itself. This is beyond reasonable doubt about what happened that night. Right? So when she was protesting, the regime, according to their own reports, had a specific person that was chanting against the regime, being to try to identify who are the leaders in the protest. Right. So when the Master Revolution was at its peak, people were protesting against the regime, setting their hijabs on fire. Nika herself was taking her hijab off and setting it on fire. And within those people, the regime has its own people that are acting like they're with the protesters, but they're reporting to the regime officials who's a leader. And Nika was marked as a leader, and that's why they kept on an eye on her. So after the protest, they kept on following her, and she realized that she was being followed. And there was a video of her trying to hide between cars and get away from them. But eventually, they got her. They put her in a truck, an ice cream truck. Like there's a fridge. They basically put her in a fridge, right? And she was resisting. They tied her hands behind her back, and one of these fanatics, these are very religious. The people who arrested her are part of a group they're outside of the entire system. They're like some really religious radicals that just directly report to the supreme leader. He took his own socks off and shoved it in her mouth to make her stop yelling and screaming. And he sat on her. And after he sat on her in the truck, after a while, she became quiet and stopped resisting until he put her hand into her pants, right? And then she started resisting much more aggressively after that, when she felt that in her pants, right? And then once she started resisting much more aggressively, they started beating her so hard with their batons, so much so that her skull basically broke inside. Like there's a hole in the back of her. It caved in, yes, and she died then, right? So let me actually play you the video.
Yeah, so this is from BBC. If you guys want to watch this whole thing, it breaks down this report and all the details and how they verified it and everything in great detail. So
right.
The full thing is called Nika's Last Breath. You can find it on YouTube, but we just want to cover this like segment that describes the series of events in an easy to understand way.
Yeah, so this whole video is like more than 30 minutes. You could go watch it on BBC. It's called Nika's, like Susanna mentioned, Nika's Last Breath. But I just wanted, it shows you exactly how they figured this out, how they put the pieces together. I just want to show you the few minutes of it that shows exactly what happened in that truck. Okay, so let me play that.
Now they have her. It's important to understand where everyone is in Team 12's vehicle. It's an unmarked freezer truck. The report says the unit's leader, Murteza Jalil, sits up front next to the driver. Behrouz and the team's other two members, Arash Kalhor and Sadek Monjazi, have Nika's hands tied up in the rear compartment. Murteza calls his HQ IRGC Tactical Camp 114, seeking orders on where to take her. He's told to drop her at a nearby base. But when they arrive, the base commander has a problem. He has so many detainees, his guards are overwhelmed.
So remember, they had so many detainees because that night, during the Master Revolution, so many people were protesting against the regime that all of these bases, they were full of people that they had arrested, and they couldn't take any more people to arrest.
With tensions in the city boiling over, Morteza contacts HQ again and is given a new destination. En route, he hears crashing in the back of the truck. The report includes the direct testimony of Team 12, who tell us what happens next. We're using actors to speak their words. A warning, they describe a killing.
It was completely dark. We could only see each other with the light of our phones. Arash gagged her mouth with his socks, but she started struggling. Then Sadek laid her on the chest freezer and sat on her.
I just want to remind you all that these are 3 grown men against a 16-year-old girl. This is a 16-year-old girl, and she has her hands tied behind her back, and there are 3 men versus this child.
The situation calmed. I don't know what's happened, but after a few minutes, she started swearing. I couldn't see anything. I could only hear fighting and bashing.
When she started swearing and struggling again, I turned on my phone light and saw Sadek was sitting on her, with his hands in her pants.
I never put my hand in her pants, but I can't deny that when I was sitting on her, I got aroused and touched her buttocks. Her hands were tied behind her back, but she suddenly jolted her body, so I fell. She kicked at my face, so I had to defend myself.
So this guy that basically sexually harassed him, the other people that were in the van, they say that they saw his hand in her pants. He said, I basically touched her buttocks because I was sexually aroused. And he says that on purpose because Islamically, it's understandable that you without a hijab will sexually arouse a man. And that's the whole point of hijab. They say like, this is what happens to men when you don't wear a hijab properly. So he's using, when he says tahrik shadam, he was basically using Islamic lingo, which is something that could be forgiven. So in his mindset, she touched her, like sexually harassed her, and she started kicking back. And he says, then I had to defend myself. So when he starts hitting her with the baton, he says that was my right because she was kicking me with her leg, and that was my right to defend. So imagine they're talking about the 16-year-old girl that you just sexually molested, who is tied up, and she's defending herself, but you think that you're the one who's defending himself. That's his viewpoint.
Well, and then it's like it's outside of his control to molest her because of course he is, because he's a man.
He's a man. Yeah, he's a man. This is why women should cover up.
I could hear the sound of the baton hitting her and the freezer. I started to kick and punch, but really didn't know if I was hitting our guys or her.
From the truck's cabin, Morteza hears the commotion and orders the driver to pull over.
When I saw her, I was only thinking about how to transfer her, and didn't ask them any questions except, is she breathing? I think it was Behruz who answered, no, she's dead.
Now what? With the killing on his hands, Morteza calls Tactical Camp 114 for a third time. This time, he speaks to a more senior officer, codenamed Naeem 16. the only officer this report doesn't identify by name.
We already had death in our stations, and I didn't want the number to rise to 20. Bringing her to the...
So they wanted, so they now have a dead body on their hand, and they're asking, where should we bring the dead body? So a higher ranked person says that their unit, not the entirety of the people that night, their unit had already 19 bodies, and he didn't want his unit dead bodies to get for that night to reach 20. Imagine how many people these people have killed during these protests, where one unit had already 19 bodies on their hand, and he said like that 20 would be too much for me. So because he didn't want to receive the body, he told them to do what?
Camp wouldn't solve any problems. I just asked, are you sure she's dead? Murtaza Jalil confirmed she was. So in my opinion, the best thing to do was dump her on the street.
I had a light, and with my own vest, I cleaned the blood from her face and head, which were not in a good condition. I told the driver to find a quiet street. Around Taimuri, under the Yadegar Imam Highway, we dumped the body.
And I'm not going to play the rest. You guys could go watch the rest. But the rest also shows you how they confirm that all of this is true, how they confirm that the leaked documents are authentic. And also it shows you how this is within the DNA of the regime. Like you could see once this gets to the higher officials of the regime, this is not a few bad actors. That this is how the regime operates. This is systematic. This is not a mistake. This is part of how they operate. So make sure you go watch that again. It's called, what is it called, the commentary again? The Last Moments of
Nika's Last Breath.
Nika's Last Breath. So
but I
if you want to
wanted
watch
you
the
to
entire
talk
thing.
about how the significance of the name where they dropped her dead body.
Right. So the highway that they threw the body in, eventually they moved it to a place so that they could make it look like a suicide. But the highway that they dumped her body in is called Yadigar Imam, which means the memory of Imam, the memory of Khomeini, Ayatollah Khomeini, the first supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And a lot of Iranians are finding it very ironic that this is the memory of the supreme, like this is what we have. These types of actions are what we have to remember Khomeini and the Islamic Revolution by. So yeah, I also want to show you a video of Nika just to show you what kind of a monsters would do this to such a girl. So
oh god,
so this is Nika. Yeah, this is Nika. This is Nika again. Remember, guys, she was 16 when they killed her. Something I do whenever I get a little bit demotivated, I think about Nika, because every time I'm going to feel, that we're doing something, we're fighting evil, and I just think about the people who did this to Nika. She's the person that I usually try to think of.
Yeah, like I think about when I go to a lot of protests with like people in the Iranian community in different countries around the world. Like I see so many young Iranian girls and they look just like Nika, like same style. I'm like, you look like someone that would be friends with Nika. Like you're the same age as her. Like it's so easy to imagine the same thing happening to them. But they get to actually speak out against like the regime in the country that they were born in. Now they're just lucky enough to have managed to live somewhere else. And I remember when because she was killed very shortly after Masa Amini died, within 2 weeks,
Right.
when the uprising really kicked off. And we knew pretty quickly that she was killed. And we knew very quickly that she was likely sexually assaulted when this happened. Like people knew what was up almost immediately. It's just taken a long time for there to be evidence, right? And I remember one of my friends saying to me, like, if we had an uprising for Masa, like we are mandated to have a revolution for Nika because of what happened to her. And this is not a one-off event, you guys. Like Human Rights Watch has done lengthy investigations into the systemic use of torture and sexual violence, not only against detainees in general, but children in particular. Documented systemic use of, I'm just going to use the words, gang rape, torture, rape by objects on children, boys, doesn't matter. In fact, recently, the United Nations fact-finding mission, which spent 18 months researching what happened in Iran in the fall of 2022 and early 2023, found that the Islamic Republic committed crimes against humanity in their crackdown and confirmed at least 551 killings of civilians, usually just dead in the street with assault rifles. Also confirming the systematic and intentional use of rape and sexual violence as a means of suppression. And in particular, oftentimes using it specifically as revenge against women, and also specifically as revenge against is targeted harassment against ethnic minorities as well. So we have like just an absolute wealth of evidence about this. This is not a one-off. This is the nature of the regime. This is part of the very nature and fabric of the government and what it represents.
I also want to do, a celebration of Nika because of, if you look at her other videos, which we're not going to have time to, if you go look at the other videos that came of her, when she was in the protest, she was fierce. She was so brave, and she was at the front. Like, I could see why the regime people marked her as a leader, because she had no chills. As soon as the master revolution started, she was like at the front line. She was burning her job. She was a force of nature. You go and find her videos and look at. There was a video of her on a garbage can with her job and burning it. I always think, I always wonder what kind of people could do something like this, and other people who still support the Islamic Republic in Iran. I don't understand. Like, it's so hard to understand. How could you see such behavior and still think that you're on the right side? But anyways, go on.
We got a few super chats. Mithras Revisited gave 5 Atheist Republic memberships. Thank you for giving those memberships to people. Remember to use the emojis in the live chat. Angie gave us a super chat saying, thank you for your voice. Heartbreaking. Yeah, it really is, but it's important to talk about. It's really important to talk about and understand that people are still being held as political prisoners because of what they did, you know, to stand up to the regime after they killed Massa. Meanwhile, I have broken the brain of Gaia with my comment saying, yes, Iran is fascist. Meanwhile, MAGA is turning the West into Iran, but these two LARPing as liberals ignore it. If you think that the MAGA movement is anywhere close to being on the level of the Islamic Republic, I can officially discredit any sort of bullshit or name that you want to call me, because apparently now you think I'm a fascist. You need to get your head out of your ass. Everything is not about you. Everything is not about MAGA. There are things that are worse. Please, I am begging you, get some perspective into like the suffering, the real suffering that people are living under. Please, I am begging you to get some perspective, because this is the most American navel gazing thing I've heard in a long time. So if you want to think that I'm a degenerate because I think that it is disgusting that another leftist streamer was shown to have prawn adult content of cartoon girls getting effed by horses, excuse me, I'm such a fascist. I'm such a fascist for thinking that that's disgusting. And don't forget that because I think that that's stomach turning, that I'm a fascist, and that actually MAGA is turning the USA into the Islamic Republic. It's almost like we have a supreme leader. Oh my God. Get a grip. Asian American, thank you for the super chat, saying degenerate opens up the idea of nutrient brain implants or engineered brain cells to correct your unpatriotic thoughts. Well, Asian American, again, taking a very esoteric, leap, as is his style. I don't know what this has to do with patriotism. I just think that the sex acts described as arousing this leftist streamer are gross. It has nothing to do with patriotism. Do you have any commentary on that, Armin?
No.
Okay.
I am going to ask you some questions, but I'm going to leave it for when we're not doing the show.
Okay. Oh my God. And then this person is saying that MAGA is a billion times worse than the mullahs. I will wait for you to present me people that have been systematically tortured by MAGA the way that we have friends in our Atheist Republic community have personally survived torture from the Islamic Republic. I'll wait. Andrew V gave us a $8 super chat saying, love the show. Keep up the great work, you two. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. This next news sounds intense. Is it clappable?
Oh yeah. Okay, so this is some bullshit.
Guys, make sure you like this stream. Hey, I have some interesting news, Susie. YouTube is being very good to us recently.
We haven't been demonetized yet?
No, we are 2 hours into the show and we haven't been demonetized. And my 2 previous live streams, we haven't been demonetized even we do get demonetized after the show is over, right? But while the stream is going on, we just don't get demonetized.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Yeah,
it's a Christmas miracle.
It's not Christmas. It's not Christmas. But
it's
okay.
a Christmas miracle.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be Christmas
is.
for it to be a Christmas miracle. Come on. Okay. Yeah. Let's do this story.
Clap. Is it clappable? Okay.
Yeah, let's clap. We're gonna have a good
Next
time talking
news.
about this. Next news: Islamists march for a caliphate in Germany, sparking backlash. Tensions flared in Germany as over 1,000 protesters, primarily men, marched through Hamburg on April 27th, with some calling for the establishment of an Islamic caliphate in the country. What began as a protest against Islamophobia, this is so ironic. We're gonna march against Islamophobia, and also you must submit to Sharia. It's so funny. Like you can't. It's too on the nose. It's too on the nose. What began as a protest against Islamophobia took a radical turn with the organizer of the group Muslim Interactive arguing Germany needs a quote unquote righteous caliphate to address the media misrepresentation of Muslims. These Islamophobic news stations, you know what would solve this? A caliphate.
Oh god, this is great.
Amid chants of Allahu Akbar, the Tawheed finger, and signs reading "Caliphate is the solution," the crowd urged by Muslim Interactive leaders, what's his name? Is it Kareem? Or he's a convert. Of course, he's a convert. His real name is Joe Adabde Boateng, that a caliphate is a necessary system, stating that, quote, Germany needs a righteous caliphate to remedy the alleged issue. The provocative demonstration stoked backlash, with a Green member of parliament denouncing Muslim Interactive as, quote, not only very dangerous, but also a completely marginal group exploiting the Gaza issue to gain support. A German caliphate, what could go wrong? Oh my god. So okay. Apparently there was this protest that happened a few days ago, and it was like 1,100 protesters marching in the streets calling for a caliphate in Germany, because they think that the German media hates Muslims, and that a caliphate is the solution, which is a freaking joke. Someone is saying, I recommend to adopt the two-state solution over there. Last time that there was two Germanys, it didn't go too well.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good line, I like that.
I think they kind of tried that before. East and West Germany, it didn't go too good. It's a freaking joke. So apparently this group, Muslim Interactive, or however you would say that with a German accent, is founded by this 26-year-old guy. He's a Muslim convert, and I just feel like that's so predictable, because it's oftentimes these converts that fall straight into radical Islamism. Basically, oh, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, I remember. So there are German officials or like security reports basically saying that this group is a front for Hizb Tahrir, and that Hizb Tahrir is banned in Germany. But based on the evidence that they have available to them so far, they're not doing anything unlawful. So I don't know if they can take action against them yet. But you better believe some of these people are on a watch list. Do you can you explain to people who don't know, like, kind of what Hizb Tahrir is and kind of that vein of the movement?
The short version of it is that they're a group that were looking for a caliphate before ISIS made it cool. But yeah, so these are in Europe, they're extremely radical, and they are, when ISIS came, Hezbollah Tahrir was kind of getting offended when ISIS came and basically took all their took all the attention from being the Islamic group for wanting a caliphate, because they were like, we're the OG group that was popularizing this, like in modern times. And we have actually, me and Susie have friends that were married into that cult. Anyways, I just want to talk about how funny it is that they started this protest as a way to fight Islamophobia, what they called Islamophobia, but they ended up doing exactly the thing that the people that they call Islamophobic would point to and say, like, we told you so. Like, this becomes what you're trying to stop, what you're calling Islamophobia, what you're doing, calling for a caliphate, that's going to make average Germans who were not categorized as Islamophobic before now be like, okay, maybe we should be Islamophobic. Thank you. Like, if this is you guys trying to fight Islamophobia, I could see what the Islamophobic people, I can understand their worry. I can understand why they're concerned.
Why would there be any reason why these people would be concerned? I have no idea. It's not like they literally say no. So in the protest, they were talking about something very interesting. They were let me try to find in my notes what kind of language they used, but they were basically talking about something along the lines of a dictatorship of values, basically being that they are against the values of German democracy, and that by not being inclusive of their values that subvert the identity of the German nation, that's actually tyrannical. Don't you just love how like they twist and turn these words? It's like this is straight out of the Islamist playbook. Straight out of the Islamist playbook.
No, it's not actually, Susie. I think these people are getting ahead of themselves. This is too early. I don't think they are not being very smart. They're not doing the Islamist playbook properly. This is the Makki phase. You're supposed to act like very pure and peaceful and lovey-dovey and victim. You can't get onto this phase. You're showing your hand. This is not the phase that you move into until you have before you get the power. When you have more power, like, you're not there yet. This is like, they're too impatient. I think that's their problem. But they're showing their hand.
Here's what I mean. So we're both right, because here's the thing. Islamist playbook is to utilize the freedoms available in liberal democratic societies to subvert the liberal democratic society itself. They use the openness within these societies against itself, right? Standard Islamist textbook strategies here. But you're right in the sense that they played their hand way too soon. And Haris Sultan talks about this a lot. Being like, they played their hand way too soon. They got confident way too soon, because most people in these societies are going to look around and be like, oh, what the F? Hell no. No.
Right. They should learn from Muhammad. Muhammad was always like, to each their own religion. Let's, all that stuff, until he managed to raise an army and like, my way or the highway. And by highway, I mean chappy. Right? That's how it worked for Muhammad. Muhammad didn't play his hand. Yeah.
We have an example of that with you being threatened in the live chat for being an ex-Muslim.
Right.
Dana, you won't be able to escape Armin, return to Islam before Islam takes over Armin.
Yeah,
there's no coercion, guys. There's no coercion.
He calls himself a Muslim Jew. He says like he's
Jewish
ethnically
Muslim.
Jewish.
Oh
Jewish
my God.
Muslim. He says he converted to Islam, and now how fast do you start threatening people? Like, you don't wait. Like, should I do my namaz first, or should I go threaten a murtad, threaten an infidel? Maybe threatening an infidel takes priority.
I get exactly what I was saying. The guy leading this is a convert himself too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been meaning to read a study that examines if converts are more likely to become radicals or not. I think it's because there's theories that it's easier for them to be radicalized because they're probably not involved in like a Muslim community. They're probably like converting more on their own, and so they fall into certain like things that they see online. But yeah, it's a disaster.
So let's go to the next news. Is it clappable?
Okay. Yes.
It's a teacher one. It's in the UK, right? Okay, good. All right. Next news.
Next news. Muslim teachers rant the UK will be replaced by his faith, and then he gets fired. In the United Kingdom, a Muslim teacher in the UK has been indefinitely banned from teaching after making inflammatory comments that Britain and other European nations will be replaced by Muslims due to higher birth rates. Aqib Khan, 30, was found to have undermined, quote, fundamental British values like, quote, individual liberty and mutual respect by a teaching regulation agency panel. Among the proven comments, Khan brazenly claimed, quote, having a baby over 30 was worse than cousin marriage, and that the child will most likely have disabilities. He also ominously warned that, quote, by 2050, the whole UK, France, and Germany will look like Birmingham due to increasing Muslim populations, stating, quote, if you believe in feminism, if you believe in aborting babies, you're going to get replaced by Muslims even faster. They will replace you even faster. The inflammatory rant about Muslims supposedly replacing those, and he also had he commented in like a online chat between students, or that was available to students, that traditional values is greater than liberalism, which was deemed as unacceptable professional conduct that could bring the teaching profession into disrepute. And
a lot of people are pointing out that he might be right. I don't know if he's right.
There are several analysts who might agree with him. So apparently this actual incident happened a few years ago, but the disciplinary action happened more recently. Let me find in my sources. So these actions happened between May of 2021 and March of last year, according to the teaching regulation agency. So he has the right to appeal, but Armin, do you have any opinions on this?
No, I think he should be fired. I'm glad he's fired.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he's fired. I really think that there needs to be an immediate attempt to reach these people, like, because you guys are not going to be able to solve this by it's already too late. Like it's not going to, stop the immigration. They're in the UK, they're UK citizens, and they are having more children than the rest of the population, and you guys will not be able to build a wall between them and the rest of society. This is now an ideological battle. Okay, this is not a military battle, this is not an immigration battle. I mean, it is to some extent, but it's mostly an ideological battle. If you want to save these countries from going full on conservative, Islamic conservative ideology, you have to not just point at them and be like, you have to actually target their children, right? This is how you save Europe. You have to target their children. You have to convince them out of this ideology. There is no other way. I mean, do you see any other way? You have to change the education system. You have to find a way to remove them from their bubble, from the indoctrination, from their brainwashing, and you have to go on attack mode with liberal values. I really think you have to go on attack mode with liberal values. You have to steal their children from their cult.
And here's the thing. I think what is so interesting to watch happen in Britain is I feel just you see like progressive and constant appeasement and like apologizing and tripping over themselves to apologize and appease in this constant like guilt that is what leads them into this like psychological need to feel like they have to apologize and feel like they have to do appeasement. And that just needs to be cut out, period. That has to be cut out. And what it's going to take is more people that come from these communities who are going to openly be supportive of these liberal values and say, actually, I don't care what anyone says. These are the values that are better for my community. My community would be more prosperous if we adopted these values, and to say so and believe so and be proud to be part of the British nation, no matter what your skin color is, no matter what your heritage is. But we're proud of our British nation because of our values and that we prosper for them. Like, there needs to be no guilt in that. And when more people from these communities are coming out and saying it and basically saying, I don't care what anyone says, it's not racist to believe that we need to defend these British values and that they should be taught unapologetically to children, and we will not tolerate people promoting values and intimidating our public employees, we will in inciting violence. I mean, when the Metropolitan Police is explaining away people waving Daesh flags through the streets of London and saying, oh no, it's not a terrorist flag, it's a profession of faith. I honestly don't know what you can do at that point. Like, I don't know what you can do at that point, because that's like pulling the wool over your eyes to an nth degree. That is useful idiocy to the nth degree. I'm like, this is literally the ISIS flag. Are you fucking dumb? But no, it's just a profession of faith. A profession of faith that declares domination over everyone else. But let's just not focus on that, because it's, like so offensive and blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, whatever happened to the British stiff upper lip? Literally, I don't, so there are some things that as an American, I just don't understand. I'm like, so I think because of the nature of this need to be constantly apologetic, it really is going to have to come from the people from these ethnic backgrounds standing up and just full-throatedly supporting this, because they're apparently the only ones that are allowed to say this. And just openly say that this Islamization is unacceptable because everyone else is too afraid to say it. But at the same time, how can I expect people to take that risk to themselves when members of parliament themselves are quitting because they know that they are not safe enough to conduct their jobs as public officials? When the British government cannot do enough to ensure the safety of their politicians who are elected to represent the interests of their what do you guys call them? Parishes or constituencies? Like, yeah, how can I expect ordinary citizens to take that risk? Some of them are bold enough to do it. More power to you. Yeah, like Shami is saying in the live chat, Susanna, standing up to Islamism in the UK is a hilarious joke to me. More chances of me flying to Iran on a flying horse.
We have a Dawa guy in the live chat. You want to read this one? Dawa Solutions.
Talk beer, talk weed, brother. Dawa Solutions is saying British values. These are based on original Christian nation that is fake now. Islam has to replace it.
Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah, brother. Subhanallah. Oh,
exactly.
God.
Saying Tanya is saying I'm British and we do say it as it is, but you get called a fascist and racist, etc. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Are you gonna back down because someone called you a name and it hurt your feelings? I let that ship sail years ago. Because it's crazy how much people don't want to do what is right. I mean, let's talk about the UK police having a horrific history of this. Let's let children get sexually abused en masse because we're scared of being called racist. A dereliction of duty, complete irresponsibility, complete negligence to the entire population in which your taxpayer dollars are like mandating you to supposedly protect these citizens, all for the sake of that it's uncomfortable for someone to call you racist. Really? 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 At the same time, I don't expect everyone to like just deal with the potential of social alienation in the way that I have, because it has been extremely difficult in my life. You know, like it has come at a cost, and have no like delusions that it doesn't come at a cost. But what is a greater cost? You know what I'm saying? A greater cost is that we have like teachers going into hiding for years at a time because people are inciting death threats against them because they're like teaching British children about the values of the nation and like free expression. Like if you have people going into hiding in your own country over like threats of blasphemy, like or like Sir David Ames getting stabbed in the middle of his own constituent surgery, and we just accept that now? No. I don't know. Yeah, but meanwhile, the UK police are more concerned about knocking on people's doors for a homophobic tweet. But don't worry, the Daesh flag is just a profession of faith. It's a freaking joke. If I was a Jew, I'd be moving to Israel from the UK so fast.
Oh, we got a super chat. I don't understand this one, but Steve, thank you so much for the 40 rupees.
Robbie.
Oh, wait.
I have no idea what this is.
Wait, I think I found a news article about this. Bhutan kids were stabbed 23 times. Autopsy reports reveal a brutality in Uttar Pradesh. Double murder. Maybe we should cover this news at some point. Is this new? Is this recent?
I don't know.
Yeah, this is 2024.
Shami is saying, I knew one of those degenerates that got charged in a grooming gang case. I even let that C word into my house once for a cup of tea. Then down the line, I saw his face in the paper. Made me sick. Oh my God. That's so freaky. That's so freaky. That's so freaky. Yeah. Like the gaslighting of an entire country is wild. I have like Pakistani friends that don't even like to go to Birmingham because they're like, that place is a shithole.
Yeah. But hey, that super chat that you removed the star, that is that like these kids were killed in India? Does it have anything to do with religion or anything? Like,
I've heard a little bit about that
because
case. It's not entirely clear, and the details are not solid, so which is why I've chosen to not cover it yet.
we have to. Okay, we'll wait and see what's happening there before we cover it. But thank you for bringing attention to us. Yeah. Okay, so we want to do the super chats.
Yeah.
And also, I want to tease people about the news that we didn't get to do today.
Yes, we're going to do this next week.
Tease so that we're going to do that next week. But like, tell them what's about. Like, just a little. Don't tell them what's about. Just tell them the country.
Okay, because we were going very long today. We are going to push one of our stories to next week, and it is. Should we start calling him Sharia Trudeau?
Sharia Trudeau. Yes, so it's Islam in Canada.
Yes.
So we'll see. So make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed, because that's going to be next week's one of the news items, one of the 5 news items that we cover, we discuss.
Gasian American gave us a super chat saying we need to rebrand as anti-caliph imperialism. Exactly. Exactly. Guys, just explain it as this. We are against the imperialism of the Caliphate. It's that simple. And Idan gave us a $20 super chat. Thank you, saying, thanks, keep it up. Classical liberalism is under many threats.
I don't like calling it classical liberalism because that seems like we're giving up liberalism. Okay, it's liberalism. I'm not going to give the word liberal to a bunch of commies. Okay, right? They don't deserve to be called liberals. Right? We're not classical liberals. We're just liberals. They don't get to be liberals. They're not liberals. They're anti-liberals. They hate liberals. Why do we have to rebrand ourselves?
It's
But
true.
yes.
It's true.
Right.
It's true.
But thank you for the
I've become a nerd recently about like liberalizing economies. Oh. You just love to see the prosperity, man. Okay, so that was the show, you guys. I hope you had fun. We really got deep into some topics, but I thought it was necessary.
Let me see how many people like the stream because I want you guys to.
I know we have over 800 people watching us right now. If you are watching this on Twitter,
Yes.
you have to make sure to come over and
YouTube.
Yes,
Atheist
come over,
Republic on
like us
YouTube.
and follow us
Atheist
on YouTube.
Yes, and also, guys, if you're on YouTube, we have like 320 likes. Try to get that to 400 likes at least, okay? Because we need this channel to grow. We need this stream to be seen. And also, once the stream is over, leave a comment and share this video and tell your friends and your enemies to come and subscribe to the Atheist Republic YouTube channel, okay? We like having people who are against our views in the live chat, so tell your enemies to come as well. Yeah.
This is this should be our byline on Atheist Republic. I was disturbed and informed.
That's good.
Oh my god.
That's what we're here to do.
And Amita saying I forgot to like. Sorry. Yes, please come like us and subscribe on YouTube. We do this. Well, I'm here every week. Armin does multiple streams a week, and I love the Muslim convert saying, Susanna, why are you allowing this apostate in your channel?
By the way, I know this guy is probably a troll, but it's funny.
I know, because actually, technically, it started as his, and I took over.
All right, guys.
That's apostate.
We'll see you on the next stream. Oh, we got another super chat. Let's read Vikram super chat, and then we'll go.
Vikram, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Saying, Armin, thoughts on your debate with Alex?
I think it was very productive, and I like how Alex is so easy to accept something once he's shown that he's wrong. He just quickly change his position. So I like that about him. I think it was a very productive discussion. Thank you, Vikram.
Wait, which Alex? Yeah. Tell people which debate so they can know to go watch it. Go promo.
Alex from. Well, I mean, so it's just go search on our channel. Like, let me see what I did a debate with somebody who was anti-Israel's actions in Gaza. I did a debate, and I think I did a very good job, right? So, he's from, what's his channel name? Hold on, let me see. So the video, if you search for it, is called "Debate: Is Israel Committing War Crimes?" It's on our channel. So I did this debate with Alex from the channel Playing with Fire. But his channel is not relevant to these topics, but our debate I think was very good. So again, go on Atheist Republic, go on this YouTube channel, Atheist Republic YouTube channel, and search for "Debate: Is Israel Committing War Crimes?" I think I did a really good job in that debate. I was on the side of Israel is not committing war crimes systematically, and he was on the side that it is systematically.
No. I just wanted to clarify because most people immediately thought Alex O'Connor, but
no,
different
Alex O'Connor doesn't get in. Alex doesn't get into this. I had a debate with Alex O'Connor about
veganism a long time ago.
Veganism, yes, and I'm glad that now he changed his mind. Shows I was right in that debate. He's not a vegan anymore.
Wait, he did?
Okay, so, oh yeah, he gave up veganism.
Oh, okay. We got to talk about that.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Make sure you like and subscribe, and see you in the next show. Bye.